Hey, what's going on everybody? It's etaprime back here again. Today I'm super excited because we've got our hands on the all-new ASUS ROG Ally. And I'll tell you, yeah, this is definitely going to change the handheld game. This thing is absolutely amazing, from the screen to the performance, just the overall form factor and all of the built-in features. I personally really love the new Ally, and the one we're going to be taking a look at in this video has the Z1 Extreme, so this is the highest end model that they offer right now. And the price on this officially is $699, so it's not much more than the highest end Steam Deck, and for $699 you're getting quite a handheld gaming PC here. 7-inch 120Hz Freesync display, an 8-core 16-thread Zen 4 CPU, and RDNA3 Graphics. This makes for a very potent little gaming handheld, and we've got a lot to go over in this video. I will have more on the way. I've got a full emulation video in the works already. We're going to do a lot of testing, some comparison videos between the Steam Deck and the Ally, but first and foremost for this video, the overall form factor. Like I mentioned, I've had this for about 7 days, and it is a very comfortable handheld to hang on to. Coming in at 608 grams, which makes it one of the lighter handhelds on the market. And the first time I pulled this out of the box, I got a little confused. I thought it might be just kind of a demo unit with nothing inside of it, because it is really light compared to the other handhelds that we've taken a look at on the channel. And personally, I really like the overall aesthetic that they've come up with here for the ROG Ally. Up top here, we've got our power button / fingerprint sensor, so we can log in really quickly to Windows. We've also got a volume rocker, a couple status LEDs, a micro SD card slot, and a 3.5mm audio jack. And of course, up top here, we've got this odd looking port. This is a proprietary ASUS port known as an XG mobile port. This supports their XG eGPU line, and right now they actually offer up to the 4090, which is pretty crazy. It's basically a PCIe interface, but we've also got USB 3.2. This is how we're going to charge our unit or connect it to an external display. And by the way, I mean, to connect it to an external display, you don't need their XG dock or anything like that. You can go right over USB Type-C. I'm trying to get my hands on one of these XG mobile docks so I can do some testing with it, so keep an eye on the channel. When it comes to the built-in controls, we've got kind of an Xbox style layout, and to tell you the truth, I wasn't too keen on this D-pad given that it's not separated, but it's actually much better than it looks. I will be testing it out in this video. Around back, we've got 2 extra remappable buttons, and this does have analog triggers, which really helps out for racing games. Overall, really liking the controller setup that they've come up with here. It definitely works out great for PC gaming and emulation. Let's go ahead and get the specs out of the way. So for the CPU, or the APU rather, this is using the brand new AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme. We've got 8 Zen 4 cores and 16 threads. This utilizes a 12CU RDNA3 Radeon iGPU up to 2700 MHz. 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5 RAM running at 6400 MHz, and from the BIOS, we've got 4 gigabytes dedicated to that iGPU. It's got a 512 gigabyte 2230 NVMe, it's PCIe 4.0, and you can always upgrade this if you want to. But one of the main things that sets this apart from other handhelds on the market is the display. Now, I've been saying it for a while, we need adaptive sync or FreeSync on these AMD powered handhelds, and we have it here. This is a 7-inch 120Hz IPS at 1920 by 1080. It supports adaptive sync and FreeSync, 100% sRGB, up to 500 nits of brightness. FreeSync or adaptive sync comes in really handy if you want to run at a lower wattage to save battery life, and we'll take a look at that in a little bit, but we have not seen a display that looks this good or performs this well on a handheld yet. But another thing that's really important for these handhelds is the audio system, and they haven't skimped out. Now we've got 2 1-watt speakers, and that might not sound like much, but it's got an adaptive audio amp and it supports Dolby Atmos, and this thing actually puts out some bass. The first time I booted up a game on it, I was about 50% volume, and I was really impressed by how clear and loud these speakers are. We've also got Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.2, a 40 watt-hour battery with 65 watt PD quick charging. It does come with a 65 watt power supply in the box. It weighs only 608 grams, and of course, we're running Windows, and that's one of the main things a lot of people were kind of worried about, having a Windows handheld after we've been messing around with the Steam Deck using their awesome SteamOS 3. But ASUS has really come through with software to allow us to easily navigate Windows, but the main claim to fame here is Armoury Crate SE. We can press the Armoury Crate button at any time. It's going to bring it up for us. We've got our game library, and this will automatically scan our directories, be it on internal storage or micro SD. We've also got a couple views that we can mess around with. So this is going to be the default view. We've got a list view if you're into this. But one of the best things here is each one of these games can be fully customized. So we can have custom profiles for each one of these games and basically change everything we need to. We can remap the controller, change the sensitivity on the analog joysticks and analog triggers. We can change the RGB, how the haptics react, and of course you can choose a power profile for the Ryzen Z1 Extreme, or you can manually create one. And we'll go over that in just a little while, but let's move over to the settings section in Armoury Crate SE. From here, we can totally configure the handheld to our liking. We can change the RGB, disable Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, also change the overall performance profile. And something we haven't taken a look at yet is the command center. We can edit all of our options over here, but at any time if we press this left-hand button, it'll bring up our command center. This is great for when you're in-game or basically any time at all because we can change everything we need to directly from the command center. Controller mode can be swapped from desktop to controller, and in desktop mode, we can use the analog sticks and buttons as kind of a mouse and cursor. You can also bring up your custom game profiles from here. We've got a performance overlay that can be brought up at any time. You can bring up the keyboard, limit the FPS, change the resolution, change the refresh rate, your RGB. You can enable RSR, which is Radeon Super Resolution. I mean, they've thought of basically everything here for the command center, and I know more will be added in the future. Heading back over to the settings section in Armoury Crate SE. RGB. Now, some people might not be into this. Personally, I think it looks really good what they've done here, but we can customize this if you don't like the rainbow effect. You can change the brightness, you can change the speed, you can customize your color profiles if you want to. We've got a few different presets that we can mess around with. Now, personally, I'm not into a lot of RGB on my main gaming PC, but having it here around the analog sticks on this handheld really does set it off, and the fact that we can fully customize this is pretty awesome. Overall, I think Armoury Crate SE is turning out to be really great for this little handheld, and more options will be added in the future. It's still a bit early, but from here we've got an update center so we can update all of our drivers and everything like that. You can sign in with your ASUS account and download some pretty cool wallpapers. There's also a little game platform section. Right now we've got Xbox, EA, Steam, Epic, Uplay, and GOG. Obviously, there's more on the market. You can just head over to the website, but from here, it just gives us kind of easy access to download that game platform and install it directly on the device. But one of the main sections here that's going to come in really important is the operation mode section. This is basically our performance profiles that we can set up for the APU to send more wattage or less wattage to that CPU and GPU. First one here is the Windows controlled mode. Next up, we've got the silent mode, which is 9 watts, and this is great for 2D games, indie games, and a lot of emulators will run fine in silent mode. The next one here is performance mode, and this is their 15 watt mode, but remember, we've got a little boost on that up to 20. Moving over to turbo mode. When you're on battery, turbo mode is 25 watts. When you're plugged in, it's 30 watts. This is going to be a really good mode for gaming, but remember, battery life will suffer at those higher wattages. And finally, we've got manual mode. From here, we can go from 7 watts up to 30 watts on battery. We can also adjust the fan curve to our liking, and we can independently adjust both fans we have built into the handheld. You can set up several different profiles here, and one kind of sweet spot that I've been messing around with is just 18 watts, kind of locked right there at 18. It does offer some really great performance and battery life, but that's not all we have here because the ASUS ROG Ally actually does have a dock mode. Like I mentioned, on battery, turbo mode is 25 watts, plugged in is 30, but with manual mode, plugged in, we can go all the way up to 35 watts, and we've actually got a boost up to around 40 watts. So this is going to offer the best performance that this handheld can put out in manual mode. And the best thing about this is, when we're plugged in, we don't have to worry about battery life, so we can take it all the way up. Plus, we can adjust that fan curve. So yeah, if you want to get the most out of this in dock mode, this is definitely the way to go. And the last thing I wanted to talk about here before we get into some game testing is Radeon Super Resolution, RSR. We can actually enable this from our command center, but it also has to be enabled per game inside of the Radeon software, at least at the time of making this video. Basically, with this enabled, using borderless window mode, our game is going to run at 720p, but Super Resolution is going to upscale it to 1080. So it's only putting the stress on this APU that a 720p game would, but we've still got a really crisp picture because Super Resolution is taking it up for us. And I will do a full video talking about this because it will help out a lot of people when trying to run games at a lower TDP, but you still want to get a really good looking picture. Okay, so before we take a look at anything else, I did want to show you a little bit of gameplay here. We've got Forza Horizon 5, and I've got Afterburner up in the top left-hand corner. We've got our GPU, CPU usage, and clocks. Plus, we've got CPU package power, which right now is at 15 watts, and total system draw from the battery, which is sitting at 27 watts. That's about the maximum the Steam Deck draws from its battery. Remember, that's everything on the device right now. Screen, speakers, and I'm at 100% brightness. Forza Horizon 5, medium settings, 1080p, we can get an average of around 81 FPS. This is really great performance, being only at 15 watts, but of course we can get a lot more out of it. And remember, with the preset power profiles, performance is 15 watts, got a boost up to 20, and turbo is going to take us up to 25 with a boost up to 30. So let's go ahead and see what we can get out of this in turbo mode. The only thing I've done here is set that power profile to turbo, and now we can get an average of 101 FPS out of this game. But you might have noticed that our total system power draw from the battery has jumped up to around 41 watts, which is going to give us a little under an hour of battery life sitting at turbo mode with a game like this. But there's one last thing I wanted to test here. I wanted to see if we could take advantage of that 120 Hz display with this game. And yeah, I mean, we can in turbo mode at 720p. Pretty crazy running Forza Horizon 5 at 120 FPS on a handheld. And speaking of 120 FPS, here's OG Skyrim low settings performance mode. This game will run at high 60 FPS in performance mode, but I wanted to see if we could kind of double that from 60 up to 120, and it's totally possible. Checking out Cyberpunk 2077. 15 watts, 1080p, low settings. We're right there on the edge of running at a constant 60 with this one at 15 watts, but it just needs a little more. If you wanted to set it up, I'd say 18 watts would be great with VSync locked at 60 FPS with this game here, low settings. But remember, we're only in performance mode. And of course, with a little more wattage thrown at the Z1 Extreme, we can get a lot more out of this game. Same exact settings, 1080p, low settings, but we're using turbo mode here. Now we can get an average of 74 FPS. And remember, with all of the games that I'm testing here, I will have that frame rate unlocked. Locking it at 60 in turbo mode will lower the total system power consumption because we do need to run it up to go over that 60 FPS mark. Spiderman Mile Morles actually runs really well on this device. We're at 1080p, low settings, and FSR is set to performance. Looks great like this, and you know, I don't mind FSR performance at 1080p, but performance at 720 on a larger display definitely looks pretty bad. Luckily, we've got this smaller 7-inch display, and it looks great here. Next up, we've got Horizon Zero Dawn, 1080p, FSR set to performance, and original settings. And original is basically just medium with this one. With the games I've been testing, I'm at 1080p, and I wanted to see how well it would do at 1080. But remember, we can always drop all of these games down to 720, use the same settings, and it will draw less power from the battery. Warframe is another one I wanted to test, and I was really interested to see if we could do 120 FPS. So we're at 1080p, low settings, and in performance mode, which is 15 to 20 watts, we're so close. I mean, we're right there on the edge of just running this at a constant 120. Throwing a little more wattage at it, or just going up to turbo mode, will allow us to do 120 with Warframe. The next game on the list is Red Dead Redemption 2. We're at 1080p, FSR set to performance, low settings, and we're in performance mode right now. And I'm getting an average of 44 FPS. So with a game like this, we will need to take it down to 720p in performance mode, or we can just up that wattage. And now, in turbo mode, we get an average of 64 FPS. Seeing Red Dead 2 run on the handheld like this is really impressive. I also wanted to test Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and I like using the built-in benchmark. We're using recommended settings, but we're at 1080p, and this does take FSR to performance. And with it set up like this, in turbo mode on battery, we got an average of 97 FPS and a low of 65. So this game is more than playable on the ROG Ally. Now obviously, with a lot of these 2D games or indie games, we won't need to be in turbo or performance mode, so I've set up a custom profile at 7 watts. I wanted to show you here with Shredder's Revenge. It's sending a little under 6 watts to the APU, and in total, we're pulling under 13 watts total from the battery here. So we can expect around 3 hours and 15 minutes out of the battery. I'm sure games like this would run at less wattage, plus I've got the brightness on this set at 100%. I did want to test out this D-pad for you, and I mentioned that I'm not a huge fan of it, just given that it's an unseparated D-pad. I'd much rather have kind of a traditional unit on this, but the roll on it's really good for fighting games. Not the best on the market, but you know, pulling off your favorite special moves and playing platformers is going to work out great. Definitely works a lot better than it looks. The final game I wanted to test here was The Last of Us Part 1, and if you've ever tried to run this on a handheld, you know how hard it can be. Right now we're at 720p, but I'm using RSR upscale to 1080. We're at low settings, and we can get over 60 FPS with this game on a handheld. I will have a full emulation video coming up real soon, so keep an eye on the channel, but I did want to test out at least one here. We've got PS3 using RPCS3, Vulkan backend, with Skate 3, which is a harder one to emulate. This loves extra cores and threads, and on older Ryzen chips, we needed a lot of wattage to get this to run at full speed. But with Zen 4 now, 18 watts is kind of the sweet spot for a game like this. And yeah, you're going to be able to run your favorite Switch games with no issues on this at 1080p. So the handheld elephant in the room is going to be the Steam Deck, and I just want to get this out of the way. Steam Deck is one of my favorite handhelds that's ever been made. I've got 3 of them at the house. I use mine every single day. And the community behind the Steam Deck is absolutely amazing. They've done some really great stuff with what we have here. But you know, if both of these were sitting on the table, fully charged, ready to go, I would probably pick up the Ally over the Steam Deck now. We've got newer architecture on the CPU, Zen 4 versus Zen 2. Newer architecture on the GPU, RDNA3 versus RDNA2. Plus, I can access more of my games that I already own that work on Windows with the ROG Ally. And of course, we can install Windows on the Steam Deck if you want to. But one of the big things that a lot of people were stating they'd miss if they were to upgrade or just move over to the Ally are the trackpads. And for me, that's not a big deal because I hate trackpads, no matter what it's on. My laptop always has a mouse connected to it. I just don't like them, so I'm not going to be missing it. But everybody's got their own preferences, and I will have a full comparison video coming up. I do want to run some benchmarks on both of them, battery life test and things like that, and just give you an overall comparison between the Ally and the Steam Deck. So that's another one that I've got in the works right now. But before I wrap this video up, I wanted to give you a look at what kind of battery life I got out of this so far. 100% screen brightness, 1080p video playback, 8 hours and 20 minutes. Not bad at all, but you know, I'm not going to watch 8 hours of video on this, so moving over to gaming. 8 watts, great for indie gaming, 2D games, 3 hours and 7 minutes. 15 watts netted me 1 hour and 43 minutes. And finally, 25 watts, 1 hour and 4 minutes. So far, I'm really liking the ASUS ROG Ally. Built-in controls are spot on. Beautiful screen here. Love that we have that adaptive sync or Freesync here. Awesome weight, and it just does feel really good in the hands. Now, there's a lot more that I want to do with this, and I will have more videos on the way. I've got a full emulation video coming. We want to do dock mode, a Steam Deck comparison, so keep an eye on the channel. And like I mentioned, the official price on this is $699. You can pre-order it right now over on Best Buy. I'll leave a link in the description, and you can have one in your hands June 13th. It's going to launch worldwide June 13th. So, you know, if you're interested in picking one up, definitely check out that pre-order. But that's going to wrap it up for my first look video at the ASUS ROG Ally. If you end up getting one, you won't be disappointed. This is an amazing little handheld, and there is a lot more that we can do with this. There's more optimizations to be had, and I'm super excited to see what the community does with the Ally. If you've got any questions, or if you want to see anything else running on this, just let me know in the comments below. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. And like always, thanks for watching.